being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
We're behind. They're all fired up. What we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. And when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people that's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. That will be all right.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Football University with me, former Alabama wide receiver Matt Caddell, where we talk everything, anything football related. And I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, a happy holidays so far. Let's get it started. RTR, this is Football University, where we talk football and we find a way to bring it back to Alabama. We're going to cover a lot of things, so let's get it started. Shouts out to all the student sections. Roll Tide Roll, Roll Tide Roll. We got some dog fans in the house. Okay. We'll be talking about the dogs. Roll Tide. So let's get it started. Student section is on, it's popping. And let's get it started. Let's dive right in. Football University. I'm your professor. Let's start with the crazy holiday weekend. And let's start with, I love to start in the NFL. Let's start with the biggest game of the weekend. The Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, it was Gardner Minshew. We knew Jalen Hurts was hurt, and hopefully Jalen gets back. We will get into some QB injuries later. We just heard some breaking news regarding Tua, concussion. But the Eagles and the Cowboys, it was a dogfight. We know Fly Eagles Fly are out there. Nation, I had the Eagles pick to win this game, regardless of not having Jalen Hurts. But kudos to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Dak Prescott, he started the game off horribly, throwing a pick six. And, once he threw the pick six, everybody got on Twitter talking about, oh, Dak sucks, this and that. But he found a way to persevere, will his team to a victory. I think he had 346 yards. Minshew did okay, but he had a couple turnovers. Miles Sanders fumbled the ball, so turnovers was key. It was the close game, but bright spot for the Philadelphia Eagles, Devontae Smith. I mean, he finally went over 1,000 yards. He was able to put on the clinic. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns, a lot of bright spots. I think the Cowboys and the Eagles will meet each other again in the playoffs. But now that Jalen Hurts is kind of out, are the Eagles, are they going to get that home field advantage? I think I forgot who they play this weekend, but they're going to need another victory to kind of secure that home field advantage, because home field advantage means a lot. So all the fans of RTR, thanks for tuning in. Rags and Fitness. Let's shout out the student section. Nick Saban Jr., Steve Hicks, Spencer, Todd Colburn, Roll Tide Roll, Spencer. Reggie Warren, a dog fan in here. Shout out to everybody in the student section. So, yeah, very impressed. What really I loved about the Eagles-Cowboys game, Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator. I know it's bringing it back to Alabama. We're hearing some things how Bill O'Brien might not be coming back, but Kellen Moore, man, he was able to put on a clinic calling the game offensively once Dak settled down after that pick six. But he called a great game, utilized the run. But it's getting late in the game, late in the season. You got to be able to hold on to the ball. Turnovers are going to be key playing in those, big games. Special teams is always key, but yeah, shouts out to the Cowboys. But I think that this twofold is the catch-22. I think the Eagles are going to be a team that's going to be ready to roll once they get Jalen Hurts back. So let's keep moving. So let's talk about the next game. Great point, Nick Saban Jr. Let's talk about the other big game. The other big game, bringing it back to Alabama. This is what we do at Football University. Tua, Aaron Rodgers, Packers, Dolphins in Miami. Dolphins needed a critical victory to kind of make their push for a playoff spot. Packers kind of lurking in the background. Aaron Rodgers, if you can think that they can win 2 games, they can actually get into playoffs. And game was played in Miami. Everybody wakes up, Christmas morning. Everybody's excited to see Tua put on the clinic. And it started really, really well. Tua had a big – Jalen Waddle was just magnificent. Again, he had a big play across the middle, like an 86-yard touchdown. We know how great Jalen Waddle is. Tyreek Hill, they were 2 of them. They were rolling. But as I mentioned earlier, Tua had a bad game. He finished with like 3 interceptions and just costly interceptions. And we're going to dive into this injuries. I know we talked about Jalen Hurts. I know everybody in the student section wants to understand what happened with Tua. But breaking news, coming to find out Tua is in the concussion protocol. Something kind of odd. This will be his 3rd time, I believe, in the concussion protocol. I mean, prayers up for Tua. We want the best for him. But, man, I think it really affected him in the second half because he had some costly interceptions where you look back and you're like, this is not Tua. What is Tua doing? I think he played decent into the 3rd quarter, but 4th quarter he had some costly turnovers, and that gave the Green Bay Packers a victory in Miami Gardens. Shouts out to Aaron Rodgers, the Packers. Go, Pack, go. But, man, as you're a Miami Dolphins fan, what do you do? I would love to hear what you think in the comments section, in the student section about Tua and the Dolphins. So let's get to the student section. Somebody says, let's talk about Tua's interceptions and critical moments. I mean, it was you felt very distraught, very odd. You're like, Tua, what's going on? You don't want it. It's so many Tua haters out there. At Football University, we're more objective. We're more fans. We always try to find the positives. But, man, Tua having those bad interceptions, it really gave the Tua haters a lot of fuel to talk about him. I thought it was an opportunity for the Dolphins to get back into the winning spotlight coming off, I think, 3 straight losses. So hopefully Mike McDaniels, Tua gets healthy. They're going to need it. If they got to play New England Patriots in New England this weekend, New England's not playing that great either. I mean, but, you never know how you can go in Foxborough. That's why you play the game. Any given Sunday, any given Saturday, you have to come prepared. So that could be a tricky game. So let's get to the student section. RTR, Rags and Fitness, Roll Tide, Stephen Hicks. Matt, do you think the head affected Tua in the second half? I really do. I really do think it affected Tua. And makes me think about, is the NFLPA going to get into the investigation? Are they going to have another investigation? Kind of like what they did earlier in the season with Tua. So prayers up for Tua. I think maybe Tua needs another helmet. I think he needs a helmet with more padding on the inside because it seems like he's going in concussion protocol for hitting his head on the turf. If you go on Twitter, you see the play where he throws the ball away, but his head kind of hits the turf. So Maybe he gets a new helmet. Hopefully somebody in Miami's, neurology, concussion protocol are finding ways to really help this young man because you got to think if you're the GM, what do you do? This has been 3 times this year. At some time, you want to, look out for his health and safety. So we always praying for Tua. We hope him and Jalen both get back healthy and give us what we want. So give us what you want. So let's go to the student section. Nick Saban Jr. said, "My Bucks with the win." Speaking of the Bucks, what about this whole NFC South division? I mean, you have the Bucks who can. The Falcons are eliminated. Sorry for all the Falcons fans out there. Rise up. Maybe next year. Maybe y'all draft for Bryce. Maybe you get an Eric Bieniemy or D'Amico Ryans as your head coach. But man, the NFC South is still wide open. And then a sleeper team is the Fighting Sam Darnold's, the Carolina Panthers. I mean, that division can come down to that game. So I still think the Bucks win the division. I think with Tom Brady's leadership, that defense, Todd Bowles, I think they're going to find a way to win that division. Leonard Fournette, all those guys. But yeah, shouts out to the Bucks. This is what we do at Football University. Get in the student section, hit that like, subscribe button, and let's just talk football. Stevenson Hicks says, hopefully after the Sugar Bowl, Bill O'Brien will be gone. I believe Bill O'Brien is gone already. I think Coach Saban's kind of been doing some things behind the scenes that are not making public. It's regarding his OC coaching style. I do think Pete stays, but to bring it back to Alabama, I do think he finds somebody to be like a co-D coordinator, like a Jeremy Pruitt, the kind of split duties, maybe move Pete to safeties. And if I'm Coach Saban, if you turn into football, Coach Saban, Joe Brady's the great OC. Cliff Kingsbury could be on the market. That could be a good option. If you go to NFL route, Joe Brady with the Buffalo Bills, anybody from the Bills tree, the Miami Dolphins, Kyle Shanahan, offensive coaches tree. If you go the NFL route, I think that's the way. But I'm high on Garrett Riley is my number one choice. I mean, I'm offering him the bag to be my offensive coordinator if I'm Coach Saban. And 1A, 1B will be Tulane's offensive coordinator. This guy, I mean, I watched him. He has Tulane playing in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, when have you heard of that? Tulane playing USC in the Cotton Bowl. So, I do think Coach Saban, to bring it back to Alabama, keeps it with the collegiate mind. But if a Cliff Kingsbury is out there, I wouldn't be surprised if Saban's like, hey, maybe Cliff Kingsbury, he's kind of young. He can maybe be a head coach in waiting or something like that. But, I think Coach Saban's going to address the offensive coordinator issue. And I think Bill O'Brien, think things been happening. We heard reports this weekend around the NFL. Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter reporting that the New England Patriots are targeting Bill O'Brien for their offensive coordinator. I think that will help Mac Jones in the long run. So that is my 2 cents about the Bill O'Brien and the situation. So let's get to the student section. The Bama Standard said, "What's up, Matt? What's up, Justin Riley? What's up to the Bama Standard?" Oh, man, shouts out to the CTS Sports Room, but shouts out to the Bama Standard. They do a great job over there. Roll Tide, brother, Van Edwards. Let's get Nick Saban Jr. says, "Do you think Malik Willis is the future for the Titans?" I do think right now he is the future. Ryan Tannehill. But I think we discussed the Titans last week. I think the Titans have to evolve their offense a little bit more creatively from just the Derrick Henry show. We know King Henry. I mean, he's one of the NFL greats running backs in history. So you got to feed the king. But I think you need to find different creative ways, not only to feed him, but to open up your offense. That way you're not so predictable. But I think if Mike Vrabel does that, kind of find an innovative OC that can, King Henry gets the run, but you're still able to be creative and use the weapons on the outside, tight ends, slot receivers, those type of things. I think that's what's important for the Tennessee Titans because, in that division, you're dealing with the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to be able to put up points. I mean, the Chargers, Justin Herbert. You're looking at teams where you got to be able to put up points. You got to have a quarterback that can go down there. Looking at a Joe Burrow or Cincinnati, those types of offenses in that AFC division. So I do think Malik Willis is the future of the Titans, but I think the Titans have to invest in the Malik Willis and open up the offense, utilize Derrick Henry, but spread things around. Great questions in the student section. Let's go. Get the U-Haul truck ready for Bill O'Brien. Getting ready. Love it. Rags and Fitness. Love it, love it, love it. Tua had 3 headshots off the turf. Yeah, I think the NFL needs to investigate that. Maybe somebody in the Miami organization look at his helmet, man. There's got to be a way we can put, a better impact, maybe where it protects the back of the head, because it seems like that's where Tua's getting the impact and he's going into these concussion protocols. Maybe something softer padding or something on the inside of the helmet. With all this technology, it's the year 2022. I'm quite sure some football helmet company has created the best quarterback helmet for quarterbacks, and that's the helmet Tua needs right now in the NFL. So let's go to the student section. The Bama Senators says Tua has yet another concussion. The question now is, not only can Tua come back, should he come back, his career may be in doubt. First we want to give our prayers thoughts up to Tua, but man, I mean, you got to think the NFL is a business. If you're the NFL GM, Chris Greer, I mean, you're thinking, I got my coach, I got my quarterback. He's on a rookie deal. I think it's his 3rd year. Do I extend him? But you have to factor in, I mean, the team has the window open right now to make a Super Bowl run. They have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. They invested in Bradley Chubb. Do you invest in the draft in a younger quarterback? I think Bryce is the answer to everything. But how do you handle this situation? These are the things we talk about at Football University. As far as Tua, I mean, the type of person that I think Tua is, he's a relentless competitor. If he's healthy, Tua's going to come back and play, but I think it's something with the helmet more so than anything. I think they got to find the right helmet for him, and Tua's got to find different ways to fall down or not get take those those head shots, maybe just, fall face forward. I don't know, but hopefully they'll get that ironed out. But hopefully Tua's career is not in doubt. Tua's such a talent. He's our Hawaiian Prince. We want him out there to have a successful career and prove the haters wrong. So hopefully Tua here at Football Year, we're pulling for you, baby. Spencer said the Bama Standard, RTR, sir. Nick Saban G said, I have the same question. RTR, Nick and Spencer from the Bama Standard. Everybody hit that like and the subscribe button. Thank you, Stephen Hicks. The Bama Standard, welcome and roll tide. Okay, Spencer has a great question. How come the NFL can't do more for players? Who does it? Who does the head injuries? Looks like Tua was not healthy enough to come back so soon. I mean, obviously, with the 3 picks, I mean, we were all sitting there Saturday, Tua's rolling, and then you come back at the end of the game and you're like, 3 picks, what's going on? I think it's constantly evolving, Spencer. I think the NFL is trying to do their best to protect player safety while still having a physical game. But, I think the NFL has these third parties with, neurologists, all these guys invested in the safety because CTE is such a big deal in the game of football. But, like you said, I think Miami, they got to get more people to really dive in and really help their organization, especially with Tua. They need to have somebody, a whole team just on Tua, just when it comes to concussions, monitoring him 24/7, especially if he's going to be your franchise quarterback. I think you got to look at the helmet. I think you got to find out what works best for him. And I think you got to find ways to prevent these concussions, because when Tua's healthy, Miami is one of the best teams in the country, in the NFL. So I think they got to iron that out. Van Elwood said, rumor has it Pete Golden still drunk in the parking lot of the Christmas party. Please don't, Pete Golden. Please don't. But that's a great take, man. Edwards. I love the comment. Nick Saban Jr. says, my Bucks suck, but we lead the South, but the Panthers are in the hunt still, and they're not great as either. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Steve Wilkes, the interim head coach, he'll have some interviews, but he's got those guys playing in the Carolina Panthers. So I think that division is going to come down to the Tampa Bay Carolina game. Who's going to win that division? Rags and Fitness says, Lana, what if Tulane beat USC? It could happen. USC, I think Jordan Addison is not playing in the game. So Caleb Williams, Heisman quarterback, I think he's going to, do well. Lincoln Riley, he's going to have the plays backed up. But Tulane, they play good. Their OC, I'm really high on their offensive coordinator. So Coach Saban, you're in New Orleans. Just drive on by Tulane's facility and just talk to the offensive coordinator and just say, hey, I got a job for you. Go ahead and be calling Garrett Riley. Go ahead and contact those guys. Coach Saban, if you're listening to the Football University, let's go. Nick Saban Jr. says, Freddie Roach needs to move the linebackers coach. I agree. I think we bring in a co-D coordinator like Jeremy Pruitt. Since Charles Kelly's going to Colorado, move Pete, the safeties maybe, move Freddie, the linebackers, bring in the D-line coach, somebody like a Bo Davis, somebody up front that can really get those dogs a hunting that we got. Jaheim Otis, all those guys getting to the quarterback. So I agree with that. Somebody says, I'm still not sold on Freddie. I played with Freddie. I think Freddie's a good coach. I think it's just hard coming from a Bo Davis, seeing a Bo Davis defensive line, but Freddie's one of the top in the country. Freddie's, I think a lot of times it's more of a defensive scheme that's really hurting our defense than where maybe you're not seeing the productivity. There's always room for improvement, but I think the scheme that Pete Golden calls was really not putting our players in the best situation. So that's just my 2 cents. But Freddie at linebackers, I think he could do a lot of damage. You look at the whole D'Amico Ryans being a former linebacker, looking at what he's doing with Fred Warner, having the number 1 Greenlaw, having the number 1 NFL defense out there in San Francisco. I mean, I could love to kind of see that type of intensity, enthusiasm from our linebackers if we move Freddie to the linebackers. So great point. Lori Caddell says, I think Tua shouldn't come back. Wow. You're not the only person that said that. A lot of people said when Tua had that, that concussion in Cincinnati where he was just stuck. A lot of people said that maybe he should not come back. He should just sue the NFL for like 400, 500 million and just live his career. But I mean, we know Tua's a player. He's a competitor. So, I mean, that is a great point. A lot of people should say he should come back. But just so many of these kids, you look at a Tom Brady, for instance, they just can't let go. They're relentless. They have such a competitive drive. They love the game. It's so hard for them to leave. So that is an interesting point, Lori Caddell. Let's go. Van Edwards says, Pete Golden reminds me of that one uncle that is a manager down at the plant but can't manage to not to show up drunk to the cookout. Van Edwards is just roasting Pete Golden right now. Shouts out to Van Edwards. The student section is on point. Okay. What's up, Matt Caddell? Roll Tide Roll. I like to see Freddie Roach or D'Amico Ryans become a defensive coordinator. What do you think about that, man? Listen, my Christmas wish list. I wrote to Santa. Let me get Garrett Riley as offensive coordinator and D'Amico Ryans as defensive coordinator, and Coach Saban let D'Amico Ryans be the head coach in waiting because he's a Bama guy. What better way? Coach Saban's got, maybe 4 or 5 years left. Coach Saban rides into the sunset and let D'Amico Ryans be the next great. And he learns kind of under Coach Saban. But, it's going to be hard because D'Amico's going to be up for a lot of NFL jobs. We have breaking news today. Denver Broncos got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett, I was kind of researching him when we lost Sark to Texas, but I've just seen him in the Broncos. I mean, he's going to be looking for a job. So I don't think Coach Saban goes the Nathaniel Hackett route, but D'Amico Ryans could be an option. Eric Bieniemy, those are my top 2 candidates. With their resumes, there's no way Eric Bieniemy especially should have head coaching jobs waiting already on his paper, and D'Amico Ryan's a hot name. But to answer your question, Eric Ross, I would love D'Amico Ryan's to be our defensive coordinator. Eagles and Cowboys games, your thoughts? I gave you my thoughts. I thought it was a back and forth. I think they're going to see each other again, probably in Philly. But you look at the NFC playoff picture. I mean, yes, Philadelphia's clinch their division, but they haven't won home field advantage yet. So I think it's important Jalen comes back, hopefully, and they win one or two more games where they clinch that playoff home field advantage. And when they win that division, that way they don't have to go on the road, because teams are good at home, but going on the road, it tests your characters, different elements. Playoff teams are much harder so on the road. So the only team I think that can travel and play really tough and really great football, and they have the defense to match Philadelphia's intensity, are the San Francisco 49ers. I think San Francisco 49ers, their style of play, their offense, their defense, their special teams, Kyle Shanahan play calling, D'Amico Ryan's calling defense, that travels well, and I think that can give a lot of problems to the number one team, Philadelphia Eagles. So that's my 2 cents. Let's see. Let's get to the student section. I hope somewhere in the mix we find a strength and conditioning coach that will work them hard, sharpen the blade. I agree with you, Stephen Hicks. I think Coach Saban, if you listen to football, you evaluate the strength and conditioning program, because I think we got to get more physical up front. Like, we got to get physical, more stronger as a team. I know we're, flexible. We do all this timing and science, but we still need to be able to be a physical team where our big offensive linemen, let's keep them at 330, keep them at 315. Like, I don't need them to be 275, 285. I want them to wear down people for 4 quarters and dominate the line of scrimmage. So, good point right there, Stephen Hicks. Van Elder saying it's an honor and to listen to Matt Caddell. Thanks, Van Elder. Let's see. Bama Center says at this point, man, he has 4 unofficial concussions this season. The health is the major concern at this point. Yes, they need to look at the helmet situation, but Tua can't take another headshot. Yeah, I mean, I agree. He can't take another headshot. It seems like he's taking headshots to the turf where his head is hitting the ground. It's not necessarily a hard hit, but it's a hit where he's, hitting the turf. So great point right there, Bama Standard. The Samoan sniper. Why can't the players step in on these head injuries? I mean, I think the NFLPA, they did earlier in the year with the whole Tua investigation at the beginning of the year. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the NFLPA, we hear something in the morning that they're going to investigate this as well, because from what I'm seeing, Tua had the hit in the first half, but he still kept playing. So now maybe the NFLPA was like, who's your team? Are you not monitoring this? So lawsuits, all that stuff, that legality stuff could be ironed out. The NFL is going to try to prevent any type of, damages or lawsuits. So it's going to get kind of iffy. But question is, what do you do if you're the NFL GM, if you're the owner? Like, do you move on? Do you invest? Do you have a backup policy? I mean, it's got to be some questions answered for your franchise quarterback. Do you make the investments? So it's going to be interesting. But, first and foremost, I hope Tua's health and safety is, is number one. And, if he's able to play, yeah, if not, we just wish him the best to be healthy. So let's get to the student section. The man, Nick Saban, putting some great insight info lately. Roll Tide, brother. Van Edwards, man, we're talking about Tua. A lot of people said, I worry about the young man's future, forget football. I want him to live a long and healthy life. I agree. I mean, you want that for everybody, but, like I said, I think these guys, man, football, you want to prove yourself. You want to go out there and be dominant and prove everybody wrong. But, it's going to be interesting. Tua's going to have to look at his wife or his family. Somebody's going to have conversations with him. But I do think Tua's going to find a way to continue to play. If he's healthy, he's going to go out there and try to get his team in the playoffs. So, great questions. What do you think? Nick Saban Jr. says, what do you think is the problem with Russell Wilson this season? Do you think he can bounce back? I just think Russell Wilson is he's not that great this year, and I don't think Nathaniel Hackett he just was in over his head. It was like he forgot to call offense because football's not that hard. You run the ball, play action pass. I mean, you got Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, all these guys at receiver. I'll be like, listen, hey, let's get the ball into these guys' hands. But obviously, it's some disconnect, and I think that and Russell Wilson kind of having his, maybe his ego or his personality not registering well with the team in that locker room. I think it's just been depleting all year. So I think it has a lot of factors to affect Russell Wilson's subpar play this year. Roll Tide, everyone. William Bryant, roll tide, roll tide, roll tide. Please hit the like button. This is a great show. It deserves the likes. Thank you, Nick Saban Jr. Nick Saban Jr. says facts. I need my D-line to be big and nasty. D-line and O-line got to be big and nasty. That's what Alabama football is made of. You go back to the 90s. You go back to the Barry Krause days. You go back. Alabama football is defense, physicality, running the ball, and getting ball to the playmakers and making the play. That's what it's about. So we got to get back to that. What's your thoughts on next year's quarterback, Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson? I want to see Ty. I heard he has an arm on him. Man, me personally, I think Milroe has a lot of potential, but I think he's got to be a little bit more developed in the passing game. Obviously, he's got the experience, he's got the weaponry. I mean, but he's something you're gonna have a quarterback's coach to really have a system that really fits what he does well. Whereas I think when Ty Simpson come in the game, I mean, this guy's firing on all cylinders, making the right reads. The offense is more aggressive, we're more creative. Ty Simpson just got it. I mean, he's a top talent. So, me personally, I would give the edge to Ty Simpson. Just because from what I've seen on paper, on the field, guys got it, man. But that's not a knock against Milroe. Milroe's talented. Well, if he think that at Texas A&M game, he made some critical throws. The Arkansas game, he had the critical third down. But I think you got to have a system that fits Milroe's what he can do. But I think Ty Simpson, he's already there. I think he's just that talented of a guy. I'm talking about elite talent from Ty Simpson. When Brian says, I just watched Saturdays in the South episode where Brett Bryant died. That was a sad day. Yeah, sad day. Brett Bryant, the legend. Ain't never been nothing but a winner. We love, people at Alabama, we love the great legendary Bryant, the famous houndstooth hat. I mean, so many great stories about the great Bear Bryant. So, great point right there. Booth O'Brien, Van Edwards there, got kicked out of a Christmas dinner for burning the brisket. Yeah, Bryce Young and couldn't scheme up a win against LSU. Van Edwards, we know who the comedian is in the student section. This is Van Edwards tonight. He is just roasting our coordinators tonight. Stephen Hicks says, I want our D-line and O-line to blow out everybody. Great point. So we talked about the NFL. Oh, man, the student section was off and running. I do want to talk about the my MVP race right now because Jalen has been kind of out. I think Mahomes is kind of edging himself up. Joe Burrow's been making some plays too. I think he's kind of coming in kind of fourth, third, and Justin Jefferson, I mean, the guy's putting outlandish numbers for a receiver. I thought it was going to be Tyreek Hill putting up all those numbers, but Justin Jefferson, if you want to put a non-quarterback in the rankings, I think you got to put Justin Jefferson. Let's see. The Bama Standard said we just released a video on Coach Bryant on our YouTube channel, so hit up the Bama Standard to look up that Coach Bryant video on the Bama Standard YouTube channel. William Bryan says, I think Ty Simpson will be the ideal to be our quarterback. Yeah, I agree. That guy's Ty Simpson, man. I was just watching practice tape, man. He's got accuracy, he's got touch. It seems like he just, he's a coach's son, so he kind of knows football, but he's an elite talent. Like this guy coming out of high school, I'm talking about like Aaron Rodgers type talent. Like this guy's elite. So I'm really high on Ty Simpson, but I'm not knocking Jalen Milroe, but I'm just saying, I think you got to have somebody to really develop like a quarterback coach and a system that really fits Jalen Milroe's best skill set. Would you rather have Justin Jefferson or Randy Moss? Ooh, I'm gonna go with Randy Moss just because Moss set the standard. I mean, this guy was what 6'5", 6'6", can run like a 4.2. What? I mean, just throw it up there. I mean, that is unreal. I mean, I remember watching tape when I was with the St. Louis Rams. We were watching film, and my receivers coach he was like, I want to show y'all something. And he showed film of Randy Moss. It was the craziest thing I saw on film. Like how fast and how quickly he covers ground is a crazy thing. But for me, Randy Moss, I'm going Randy Moss. It's just Randy Moss. I'm sorry, but Justin Jefferson, no knock on him. I mean, it's a win-win situation, but if I'm a quarterback and I can throw it to a 6'6" guy running a 4.2 down the sideline, I'm picking him. Great point. Nothing against Ty Simpson, but I'm holding my decision until I see what happens in terms of an OC for Alabama. Great point, the Bama standard. I mean, I agree. It's all about the OC. It is all about the OC. Jerry Rice or Devontae Smith? I grew up on Jerry Rice. I'm gonna go Jerry Rice. To me, Jerry Rice, he set the standard for being a receiver, man. But Devontae Smith, I mean, the guy's not the biggest. He's about $170, but he's making so many plays out there. So two great comparisons. Van Elwer says, I think Milroe with the right QB coach could be better than Jalen Hurts. Man, I believe so. Let's just hope he has the same work ethic like a Jalen Hurts. I mean, Jalen continued to work on his game. Even when he got in the NFL, he knew he had to improve on his downhill field accuracy. And I think he got in the right scheme, system. Brian Johnson, the OC at the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni, they played to Jalen Hurts' strengths. So I think you got to be able to have your quarterback coach, your OC play to your quarterback strengths. So, it's all about, as the Bama Standard said, it's all about the OC. It's all about, who we bring in as the OC QB coach. But, they're two great talents. But for me, just what I've seen, I really like Ty Simpson. I do. And I really like Milroe, too, which is crazy. But when I heard Ty Simpson started getting first-team reps, to me, that was a sign of how great Ty Simpson really, really is. So, great point. That great. Everybody's saying it's got to be the OC hire. Great point. The Bama Standard. Shouts out to the Bama Standard. Let's talk about these NFL late injuries. We talked about Tua. We talked about Jalen. We kind of covered that. We talked about OCs. We talked about head coaching power that'll be open. Let's talk about head coaches that's probably going to get a lot of names. Sean Payton. I would love to have somebody from Sean Payton coaching tree be our OC. Somebody like a Joe Brady, who's the quarterback's coach for the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, Sean Payton's going to get a lot of opportunities. They're saying it's rumors that he's already got his staff already ready. So be on the lookout for Sean Payton. So let's talk about the college bowl season. Let's bring it back to Alabama. Bama versus TCU. I think Bama is, last week was a 6-point favorite. Now moved up to 6.5. So far, the bowl season has been pretty good. I know South Alabama lost, but to me, the biggest performance that I've seen so far from the bowl season was Southern Miss. Frank Gore Jr. I mean, he rushed for like 329, which was threw for a touchdown. I mean, it was unreal what he did. But Bama versus Kansas State, noon kickoff. So I think when you wake up Saturday morning after you eat your cereal, watching cartoons, it's going to be time to watch Bama play Kansas State. I think it's going to be a great game. Kansas State, I think they present a lot of challenges. Me starting with Vaughn. If we can stop the run, stop Vaughn for 4 quarters, I think that helps us. I think this is a matchup that really, think helps our defense. We're not playing a mobile quarterback where we have to put a spy on the quarterback, but this Kansas State team is tough. They got players all around. It's going to be an interesting game. So I do think Bama pulls it out. But I think Bama, for me, my wish list, I want Bama to make a statement in this game. I think you have a lot of things on the line. Players playing in, not opting out. I think you look at a Jordan Battle, Brian Branch, a Ekior, a Byron Young, guys who are, going to the Senior Bowl, but kind of want to put that last minute great film on tape. That way they can increase their stock to get in the first round. I think this is a great opportunity for those players in line. I've been saying the past couple of weeks, I think Bryce and Will are trying to separate themselves in this game and let them know that we are the top 2 picks in this draft. No need to look at CJ Stroud, is what Bryce Young wants to say. Will Anderson wants to say, no need to look at Jalen Carter. I'm the top defensive player on the draft board. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. Let's go to the student section. But yeah, Bama versus Kansas State. That's going to be an interesting game. They think they both arrived this today. I think they both flew in. So speaking about bowl games, let me tell you my bowl experience. Bowl games is fun, but bowl practices is where you really get to improve as a player. I mean, the players who take advantage, and we know we've had guys go to the transfer portal, whether it's Leary, Holden, all those guys. I think it benefits our young receivers, Shaz Preston, Bond, Prentice, Kendrick Law. I think those guys are really going to take the step in this game, and we're going to see a lot more guys too. I think another player that really needs to have a big game, I think he needs to rush for like 120, 130, 2 touchdowns maybe 1 catching, 1 rushing. Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, right now you're looking at the draft. If he comes out, if Jahmyr Gibbs put on a great clinic versus Kansas State, it's going to be some teams looking at him late first round. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles could use a Jahmyr Gibbs in that offense with the Devontae, A.J. Brown. I mean, things you get an explosive zone type of runner. I think that could be beneficial for Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's going to be interesting. So I think a lot of the players, they're going to want to end it the right way because they put in so much work. So I'm looking to see the Tide roll versus Kansas State. Roll Tide roll. Let's get to the student section. Excuse me. Matt Caddell, who do you think could replace Nick Saban when he does retire? Lane Kiffin, or would it be somebody else? Right now it's about 3 names. Obviously Lane. I look at him Lane. I look at a Sark. I look at like a Dion, Coach Prime, if you want the flashy. But if my ideal situation I mentioned earlier, if you could bring on a D'Amico Ryans to be your defensive coordinator and have him the title as the head coach in waiting and kind of groom him to get used to the recruiting scene, the ins and outs of being a head coach and all that stuff, being, more of a delegator in the, so to speak, that would be my ideal list of coaches to be. D'Amico Ryans, Kiffin, Sark I'll throw in there, and maybe a Dion, but definitely those 3 or 4 kind of being my names right now. Hit that like, subscribe button. Nick Saban Jr. makes a great point. He says, Kansas State sets you up for the big play, and that RB they have is good. Vaughn, the running back number 22, that guy can go. He kind of reminds me of the Austin Eckler. We know the Monday night game tonight is the Chargers and the Colts. I got the Chargers winning. But if you watch Austin Eckler, he's a smaller running back, shifty, guy can just make plays, but we're going to have to stop Vaughn. The guy's really, really, really good. So if Alabama comes prepared, if we come prepared, we should be great. So I talked about the bowl practice, how players need to use it as an opportunity. You know, you're gonna have fun, build the camaraderie together with the guys. But another thing about the bowl, man, it gets competitive. Like we played in the Independence Bowl twice, my junior senior year. Won one, lost one, and it gets very competitive. And the other teams, they come with it, man. They come with it. So I noticed I was watching the New Mexico State Bowling Green game. A lot of turnovers. So ball security is going to have to be important in Alabama. Let's hold on to the ball high and tight. I know I had a great game versus Colorado my senior year, but somebody hit me. I think I had a fumble almost. So ball security is interesting. You gotta be able to have ball security. Let's go. This somebody says, Spencer says, I hope Bama goes into the Sugar Bowl with the mindset that they're going to show the world what we should have been in the playoffs. I agree. I hope Bama makes a statement. I want Bama to put up like 70 points. That way everybody's like, dang, we should have put Bama in the playoffs. You know, so shouts out to Spencer. Great point. That's how I want Bama to leave a statement. Pittsburgh Steelers need Ryan Anderson Jr. Go Steeler Nation. Shouts out to the Steelers. Y'all got a RIP Franco Harris. You know, we lost Franco Harris. He made the immaculate reception. You know, Franco's Italian Army, you know, the Great Wall, all those old 70s, Terry Bradshaw, Mean Joe Green, John Stallworth, Nick Lambert type of Steelers teams. They were part of that run. Winning those Super Bowl teams. And we know a lot of older people love the Cowboys and the Steelers, and probably the Raiders. So, but yeah, a lot of the older people, they love those teams. So shouts out to the Steelers. Hey, I think the Steelers, when you look at up front, J.J. Watt, I think they could use a lot. From what I'm seeing, Steelers fans, from what I'm seeing from preview comments on Twitter, Steelers fans are high on Alabama players. You look at a Brian Branch. I saw Steelers fans talking about, we want Henry Toto. And I'm like, what? But yeah, man, Steelers fans are high on Alabama players, blue-collar guys. You look at Najee, who's having success, Levi Wallace. You got a Minka Fitzpatrick. Just imagine if they're trying to shore up that secondary. They get like a 16, 15 pick. You can get a Brian Branch who can play star, safety, slot, corner. He can do it all. Then maybe second round, you pick up another safety like a Battle or somebody to go next to Minka Fitzpatrick. I mean, listen, I don't think I know about Steelers Nation. They are high on Alabama players for this upcoming draft. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Pat O'Bar says, I don't think D'Amico will like the college games hours, but he is a great defensive coach. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I will. That's why I said it's my wish list. I would love for D'Amico to, you know, come back to Alabama, be the defensive coordinator, kind of be the head coach in waiting. You know, that would be awesome. But the NFL game is different from the college game. You know, you don't have to go out there and recruit. It's you probably get a little bit more. I don't know. It's still demanding. Like, it's still a lot of time away from your family. So I just think that I don't know, it's up to D'Amico, but on my wish list, I would love for Alabama to have D'Amico Ryans. Let's get to the student section. I'm going to say Alabama 35, Kansas State 14. You know, that is a good point. You know, good prediction. I got Bama going up to like I said, I want Bama to make a statement. I want them to put up like 50, 60 points. Like, if they just score 35 points, I'm going to be like, really? Like, I already want Bill O'Brien to go already, but if Bill O'Brien's going to be gone anyway, we might as well score a lot of points, right? Let it make your last hoorah. That way this Patriots fan in New England will be like, man, we're getting a great OC and Bill O'Brien. That would help Mac Jones. So, Bill O'Brien, if you listen to Football University, put a great game plan for Saturday and score like 70 points. All right, but right off in the sunset. Okay. All right, roll tide roll. Stephen Hicks said, "I'm ready to wear my new battle gear my wife brought for me. Roll damn tide." I like that. The Bama Standard makes a great point. Alabama has to account for QB Will Howard. He's a fighter. He can make big plays. However, he can get rattled along with holding the ball too long. Great point in the Bama Standard. We do have to account for Will Howard. He's a fighter, but I do think Kansas State is they're gonna try to change things up. I think they're gonna look at the LSU game, try to do a little QB runs, a little bit more options, kind of get Bama in space, covering lateral. But we got to know Will Howard. He's a fighter. He can make big plays, but it's not Jay Daniels. I think it's important that Alabama, they coming out there physical. Like we haven't played it forever, and we need to set the tone. Like this is SEC football, and not only that, this is Alabama football. We need to be physical for 60 minutes. Laying that hat versus Kansas State, but yeah, you looking at the game. Vaughn is really nice. They got a really good receiver. I think their leading receiver has like 739 yards. Kansas State is only averaging 33.2 points per game. We're averaging like 40. Kansas State is only allowing 20 points per game. They're averaging, we're allowing 18. So pretty good defenses. Excuse me. I think it's important that, as always, Alabama runs the ball, and play action and make it happen, and get physical up front. So I think that's how the offensive game plan is really going to flow. And that's what separates NFL teams right now. I mean, you look at your top teams. You look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They got Samaje Perine, and they got Mixon with Joe Burrow, and Zach Taylor, the offensive coordinator. I mean, they went to New England and still won without like one of their top receivers. So you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Mahomes. I mean, they're still able to make plays. They're still able to run the ball effectively. So a lot of your top players, a lot of your top teams are going to have to run the ball, and bring it back to Alabama. Alabama's going to have to run the ball. Stephen Hicks says Will Anderson needs to plant their QB in the ground. Great point, Stephen Hicks. Will Anderson needs to have a crazy play where it's so dominant. Do y'all remember that Jadeveon Clowney play in the Citrus Bowl when South Carolina beat Michigan? It was like a 4th and 1, and Jadeveon Clowney beats the block, beats the pulling guard, and like beats the fullback and makes this smacking hit. And everybody was like, "Oh yeah, Jadeveon Clowney is the number 1 player in the country." Will Anderson, he's got to have that type of impact in the game. I still think Will Anderson, with these type of guys hungry, I think Alabama's going to feel disrespected. I think Coach Saban's going to put it in their mind mentally to let them know, you got to prove yourself. Y'all think y'all are that good, but y'all ain't done nothing. Y'all in the Sugar Bowl. You think you're the number 1 quarterback, Bryce, but you got to go out there and prove it. Will, you think you're the top defensive player. You got to go out there and prove it. Jalen Battle, you think you're one of the top safeties. You got to go out there and prove it. Jahmyr Gibbs, you think you're one of the top running backs. You got to go out there and prove it. I think these guys are going to be riled up and ready to prove a point, and I hope they do that and dominate for 60 minutes and put up like 60 or 70 points versus K-State. Let's get to the student section. William Bryan says, after seeing K-State play TCU, Alabama needs to be ready to play. I mean, we were all, as Alabama fans, we were all pulling for K-State to beat TCU, and they actually did. And one thing about K-State, they got a lot of hungry guys that are disciplined. They might not be 5, 6 stars, but these guys are football players. They play with a lot of grit, a lot of effort, a lot of discipline, a lot of toughness. Big Ten players, they're physical. Big Ten, not Big Ten, Big 12 style football. They might not be known for defense, but these guys play enough defense for them to be in the Big 12 championship and to beat TCU, who's going to the playoffs. So these guys are going to be ready to play. Kansas State, they do a good job, well coached, well disciplined, kind of an old-fashioned type of football team that Alabama's going to have to be prepared and come ready to play and be ready to set the tone on Saturday in New Orleans. Saturday. Let's get to the student section. Great point, William Bryant. If our secondary comes prepared, it will be a long day for K-State. Yeah, I think our secondary is going to be real prepared. I look at Kool-Aid to have a big game. I look at Ricks to have a big game. I look at Brian Branch. I mean, he's my number one safety coming out of this year's draft. Brian Branch is just a Swiss Army knife, so versatile. He's so great. But like I said, Jordan Battle, Helms, these guys need to put on clinics that way they can increase their draft stock. And say to the NFL world, I'm one of those top players that you need to have on your 53-man roster. And shouts out to Alabama football. Did you not know that Alabama was the first collegiate team to have a record 70 NFL players on active rosters? I mean, shouts out to what Coach Saban and the staff and the standard that they have set into the NFL game. So shouts out to Alabama. And another crazy stat, since we're talking about the bowls and the playoffs, Georgia, Ohio State. This game can get very interesting. I know we had a Georgia fan in there. I do still think Georgia's going to win the game. But that game versus Ohio State can get kind of tricky. I'm just saying, Georgia, come prepared. I think if you're Georgia, I think you defensively, you can beat Ohio State. But you're going against C.J. Stroud, Harrison Jr. at receiver. Ohio State's got some players. I mean, Ron Day, we look back at that year Alabama won national championship, how they beat Clemson in the Sugar Bowl, and Justin Fields put up a clinic just airing it out. I think that's the matchup. I think that's the formula Ohio State is going to take versus Georgia. I think they're going to go at Kellen Ringo. I think they're going to – Marvin Harrison did not have a great game versus Michigan because they played a lot of man coverage, and I think he's been using that as motivation, him and C.J. Stroud. And now that they got in the playoffs, I'm going to be surprised Stroud and Harrison, they try to go at that secondary, because if you're looking at the matchup, LSU was able to throw for like 500-some yards versus Georgia in the SEC championship with a backup quarterback, Nussmeier, Butte at receiver, Neighbors at receiver. So they were able to throw for 500-some yards. I'm quite sure Ryan Day, C.J. Stroud, Harrison, they're looking at that tape and they're finding ways how they can exploit that Georgia defense. So we know, bringing it back to Alabama, how Alabama took it to Georgia last year. We tried to be a little bit, run. Georgia jumped up 10-0. Then once we start airing that thing to Jameson Williams, we started blowing them out. So I think Ohio State takes it the same route. Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, that's going to be a game. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than what people expect. I think people was expecting Michigan just to run through TCU, but TCU's those Horned Frogs are fighters. But I do think Michigan wins that game. But that Ohio State-Georgia game, it's going to be interesting. I'm telling you, it's going to be interesting. Let's get to the student section. I can't wait to see our players be riding the bench, get out there and go off. Yeah, I think we should be playing more players. Like, I think that's the new wave of football. Like, you just can't play your same 13, 11 guys for 60 minutes. You got to expand it, because with the NIL and transfer portal, guys want to play. So the more guys you play, it only benefits you in the long run, because you get more depth and you get more experienced players, and you know which guys are game tough. So great point right there, Spencer. William Bryan says, no doubt, Spencer. Stephen Hicks says, I'm calling for our defense to get 2 pick six and 3 and out them all day. I agree. Let's do it. We need special teams. We need Kool-Aid to take one to the house. Kool-Aid, it's that time. This is what we do at Football University. You get that punt, baby. Let's set the tone. Let's get in the end zone. We can set you up get you in the end zone. Some Spencer says, I think K-State will play fast against us too. I think so too. They're going to look at what Tennessee did, Josh Heupel's offense, air raid, try to run. I think they're going to take some of the intricacies and kind of run their offense. I think they're going to do a lot of more no huddles, a little more quicker, try to set the tempo versus Alabama, get us on their heels, use Vaughn 22, inside zones, jet sweeps, all that stuff. So we're going to have to come prepared versus Kansas State team. The Roll Tide and Rise Up says they Will Spencer. Wide receiver Kay Warner is someone to watch out for. I agree. Great point. The Bama standard. Kay Warner is somebody to watch out for. The guy can play. With that pedigree, Kurt Warner, we know everything about Kurt Warner. I mean, what's there not to love? So you know his son's a football player, so he's going to be ready to play. So it's going to be good matchups all across the board. Like I said, I just hope Pete Gold is putting them in a scheme and to be prepared to what they might throw at us off script. You know, I think that's the biggest issue Bama fans have with Pete Gold is adjustments. You know, we would make the adjustments versus Tennessee or LSU. You know, we didn't put a spy on the quarterback. I think if we could be a little bit more creative, a little bit more physical, play our players in the best scheme, rush 4 or 5, have better blitzes, more creative blitzes instead of the same predictability blitzes. To kind of set these teams like we're playing Kansas State, I think that's going to be beneficial for our defense. Let's get to the student section. Nick Saban Jr. said, I don't think anybody can guard Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, I think Ohio State, they kind of got their eyes on Michigan, and I think Michigan's got their eyes on Georgia as a revenge factor. I think Georgia's just, wanting to just go out there and win the playoffs or whatnot. But I think Michigan's got their eyes on Georgia. They want a rematch. If they meet them in the championship game, they're going to want to, win. I think Ohio State's got their minds on Michigan. I think they want revenge as well. So it's going to be interesting. Can you imagine if OSU beats UGA? Look out for the smoke, Disney dogs. Listen, man, if I'm saying it now. I've been saying it for the past 2 weeks. I think Georgia got screwed by the playoff committee. I'm sorry. They should be playing TCU regardless. But they got to play Ohio State. That is not the draw that I want. Yeah, it's in Atlanta, in the Peach Bowl, and yeah, you put up all these points in Atlanta, home crowd. But listen, I've seen Ohio State fans in the bowl game. It can get interesting. So don't count out the Buckeyes. Do not count out the Buckeyes. They're going to try to make us – let's see who made this point. Eric Ross says – Eric Ross says, what are your thoughts on the recruiting class for December? Alabama's reloading. Any player you like? Who's going to be good in this class, offensive or defense? I mean, I'm so high on everybody in this class. I mean, Brayson Hubbard, I think he's so underrated. The guy out of Mississippi, the athlete. Justin Hayes, Caleb Downs, Richard Young, Ricks, Desmond Ricks, Jaleel Hurley, Tony Mitchell, Quay Russaw, James Smith, Keon Keeley. We just loaded, and I think Saban's going to learn from this year and make sure he has the coordinators in place to, maximize all this talent and put the pieces of the puzzle together. That way we can get back to being dominant. So I love our offense. I love our class this year. I love the mindset of this class. They have such an attitude that they want to bring in championships back to Alabama. They want to be the class that does it. And that's what I love about this class. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys pan out. Let's get, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Please share with everybody. Matt, back in your day, Spencer says, Matt, back in your day, how quick do players get tired when they haven't played all season? You're going to get tired, but, if you haven't played all season, you're going off more of adrenaline rush. You're like, yeah, then once you start calming down, getting into the game, then some fatigue set in, but I think you have so like I said, it goes back to preparation. If you prepare yourself and practice and knowing what to do, you're going to be effective and you won't get as tired. Because when you get tired, you start losing mental focus and you start making mistakes. So if it goes back to preparation, preparation is key. If Alabama is put in the preparation, and we're healthy, we're hitting on all cylinders, and it's coming from our coordinators. Alabama is one team that nobody in the country want to play. Let's see. Hurley is awesome. Go Florence Falcons. Go UNA Lions. They beat Ole Miss in basketball. Oh, shout out to the North Alabama Lions up there in Florence, up in North Alabama, beating Ole Miss. Ole Miss is pretty good. So hopefully the Crimson Tide can use what UNA did and beat Ole Miss. Let's see. Let's see. What did I want to cover? We covered everything. But yeah, like I said, let's see the student section. They said they're going to try to move our safeties up in the box, and when they do, expect K-State to expose it. Like I said, I think K-State's going to try to use a lot of tempo, a lot of different things with LSU. Tennessee kind of did. Now, I don't think they have the kind of firepower like they do, but they do. I think they can do what they want to do in their scheme and kind of try to catch Alabama off guard, early in the game. That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be important for Pete Golden to have, two kind of game plans, things that kind of come off script and things that kind of happen. Oh, we know, what they're going to do. We need to be able to defend this. And if we don't know what they're going to do, we need to have another game plan for that. So, yeah, so student section, shouts out to the student section. Y'all are awesome. Y'all were awesome. Happy Monday. This is another episode of Football University with Matt Caddell. Listen, spread the word out there. Listen, you see as what we do. We cover everything here at Football University. We cover NFL, college. We bring it back to Alabama. We talk recruiting. We do it all. But thanks to the student section. Get your friends involved. Hit that like, subscribe button. All shouts out to all the students. Y'all did great. Eric Ross, William Bryan, Spencer, the Bama Standard, Van Edwards with the Stephen Hicks with the Van Edwards with the jokes. I mean, it's interesting. So last comment, Spencer says, my favorite 23 is Sweet Justice Hayes. Man, he's nice. I mean, son of a Georgia player. He's just got the mindset. I love the mindset of those guys. Caleb Downs, Justice Hayes, and Alois, the guy from Finland, the big lineman. Our offensive line class is crazy, so I'm excited. So roll tide roll. This has been another episode of Football University. Hit that like, subscribe, spread the word. See you next Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy football because we're going to talk it next weekend. And let's bring Alabama a victory this Saturday, all right? Roll tide roll. Be safe. This has been another episode of Football University with Matt Caddell. Peace.